Yeah, you can leave it. I'm just going to introduce it to the camera. My name is Matthew Liebel, and today I'm interviewing Brian Adams, who's the co-founder of Edit Team. So can you tell us a little bit about your company, what exactly you guys do?
Sure. We work primarily with wedding and portrait photographers, and what we are in a nutshell is a post-production resource for them. So what they do is they will shoot a wedding or photograph an event or some sort of session, send us all their raw files, and then the first thing we do is image selection, where we go through all of their images and pull out the best ones, the ones that sort of deserve to make the final cut, right? And then those are the ones that we edit. And then the editing has a few steps as well. So the first step in the editing is color and exposure correction. So that's when we go in and make sure that all the raw files are adjusted to look natural, normal. If they're too dark, we brighten them up. If they're too bright, we sort of level them off. We also adjust colors. If they're too yellow, too warm, too cool, we sort of bring them back to neutral. And then the next step is any artistic edits that the client might want. So, from something as basic as black and white sepia, a color pop, to something more complex like a mixture of those, where we do maybe really customize artistic edits for the client based on their specifications. And that's the big thing with our company, is that we want to make it seem like we are part of our client's team, like we're sitting in their studio, not like we are outside of their studio and giving every client the same thing. We customize so that we're giving client A exactly what client A wants, client B exactly what client B wants.
So they just basically send you guys the pictures through a hard drive?
Yeah, there's a couple ways that we're doing things now. We've been doing more and more FTP, so we're encouraging clients that have smaller jobs. Everybody who doesn't have a wedding can now FTP their images to us. So all portrait sessions, we have a new thing called the mini edit, where it's 100 images or less, then they can FTP those to us. We also do wedding album designs, so we'll actually do digital designs for our clients of albums that turn out when they're printed to sort of look like this. So all of this is done here in house too, and they can FTP us their images. We will edit them and then design an album around the images that they send us. And then the other thing that we have are Edit Team hard drives, which it's just like an 80 or 100 gig passport drive, and then we FedEx those all over the country, all over the world too.
So how did you guys start? Like, how did you come up with the idea? Was it funded?
This was all started out of my workflow. I started as a professional photographer about 7 years ago, and a lot of the frustrations that I experienced, and then a lot of the solutions to those frustrations eventually spawned Edit Team. So, when you're a professional photographer and you're shooting a lot of weddings or a lot of events, a lot of your time is taken up not only with shooting, but with the business aspect and handling clients, etc. The editing takes a lot of time and a lot of skill. And so what almost every photographer does is starts to do that on their own. So then they start to take on too much work, and they just get bogged down. They're working nights and not sleeping and not spending enough time with their family, and it just kind of slowly kills them. And it ends up actually shutting a lot of photographers down, because they realize that this really fun, really cool job that they had is actually too much work for them to handle, and so then it ends up not working out. So what I ended up doing when I was sort of at that point, I was able to hire somebody, because it wasn't until I was so busy where I actually had the money to hire somebody to help me. So once I got to that point, I was able to hire an assistant to take care of all my post-production work. So he ended up doing the image editing for me. He ended up doing the album design for me. And we just got so good, and we got into this workflow where I was able to let go. I was able to sort of take my hand out of the images once I shot the wedding, once I shot the event. and just put all my trust into him. And that took a lot. It was a big step on my part. Once I was able to do that, then we got into this really great workflow where I would just shoot the wedding, hand everything over, and then I wouldn't see anything until it was a final product. And then at that point, I could sort of review it or make tweaks or whatever. But all my clients were happy. I was a lot happier. I was sleeping better. And then what happened is it actually helped me to grow my business and have more time for more clients and more shoots and make more money, etc. So what happened was, I'd say 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, I was just sitting around with my friend Darren, and we were talking about business ideas. And I had 3 or 4 different ideas for new businesses at the time, and I sort of pitched this to him, and he said, "Well, that sounds really cool. Do you want help getting it started?" And so I did. I sort of took his help, and he comes from a business background. I come from more of a photography background. So we sort of combined forces and started the edit team and scaled it up from there.
So it was just you two at the beginning, or was there?
It was us two at the beginning, and right away we brought in my team that had already been helping me, which at the time was only one other person. He was our editor, and right now he's our lead editor. He's actually a UCF graduate, and he started working with me while he was at UCF, so it worked out really well. So now we have a staff of 8 people. And we officially launched last February or so. So we've been around for a little bit over a year.
So with that, what about like your past clients? Do any projects stick out in mind that were like that something wrong happened and you had to really like go outside?
Yeah, definitely. We actually didn't realize as much as we thought we knew about photographers, and so I kind of thought that every photographer was like me because I've been a photographer for 7 years, and I guess I was just sort of naive to the fact that different photographers do things differently than the way I did things. And when we started things up, we had test clients, we had pilot clients, we had close friends that I have in the photography community, and we sort of went over everything with them. But even with that group, I would say it was maybe 6 or 7 other photographers. Even in that group, there wasn't a whole lot of variety. But once we sort of opened it up to the country and to the world, we started getting requests that we thought were way out of left field. But it made total sense to these other photographers. So there were a lot of little hurdles, a lot of little things that we didn't expect. And in the beginning, I'd say our first 6 months of operation, it was a real learning curve for us. And to be honest, we lost a lot of clients because we were doing exactly what we told the clients we would do. We were listening to them, we were customizing to them, but there were just a few things we were doing wrong. And I think one of those things is that in the beginning we didn't have dedicated staff to each one of our clients. So what would happen is we would kind of pass a job around. So on one event, a client would get one editor, and on the next event, a client would get another editor. And the client would say, this first job was great, but the second one is completely off from the other one. And she said, I almost wouldn't mind if they were both the same, but what happened was we were sending people inconsistent work, and I think that's what really sort of got to us. But after that learning curve, after we sort of got things figured out here, straightened out on this end, then we were able to grow more successfully. So that's the only big thing that went wrong.
So now that you officially launched and you've been around for a while now, what do you feel like the challenge is to keep the company growing?
The challenge is to stay competitive and to just constantly be innovative and not just trying to keep up with our competition, but to go above and beyond. I think right now there's about 10 companies doing what we do around the world, and there's about 3 or 4 that stand out. And fortunately, just from the conferences and things we go